Do you start every morning with a glass of milk? For decades, that habit has felt like one of the safest, most responsible things a person can do for their health. Calcium builds bones. Milk has calcium. The logic seems airtight. But what if that habit is actually working against you? Not because milk is dangerous, but because it may not be right for your body? Today we are looking at what the science actually says about milk and bone health, and why the answer turns out to be far more personal than any blanket recommendation can capture. One quick note before we begin. Everything here is for educational purposes. If you are managing a medical condition, or taking medications related to bone health, please speak with your doctor before changing your diet. Let's start with a number that surprises most people. Across East Asia, between 70 and 90% of adults have significantly reduced levels of lactase, the enzyme needed to digest lactose, the sugar found in milk. In Korea specifically, studies suggest that roughly 75% of the adult population experiences some degree of lactose malabsorption. That means the majority of Korean adults who drink milk every day are doing so with a digestive system that is not fully equipped to handle it. This matters far more than most people realize. When lactose is not properly digested, it travels unprocessed into the large intestine, where gut bacteria begin to ferment it. That fermentation produces gas, bloating, and diarrhea. The familiar discomforts many people shrug off as minor inconveniences. But beneath those surface symptoms, there is something more significant happening. The chronic low-grade intestinal inflammation triggered by undigested lactose actively impairs calcium absorption and elevates systemic inflammation markers. In other words, drinking milk every day when your body cannot digest it may mean that most of the calcium you are drinking simply does not make it to your bones, and the resulting inflammation may be quietly working against your bone density all along. Now here is the research that genuinely stunned the scientific community. A major study published in the BMJ tracked over 61,000 women and 45,000 men in Sweden for more than 20 years. The findings were the opposite of what most people expected. Women who drank 3 or more glasses of milk per day had a higher risk of fractures, not lower, compared to those who drank less than 1 glass per day. They also showed higher mortality rates. Men showed similar mortality trends with high milk intake. What could explain this paradox? The research team pointed to a compound called galactose, one of the 2 sugars that lactose breaks down into during digestion. In animal studies, galactose is actually used to artificially induce premature aging, because it generates oxidative stress and chronic inflammation at the cellular level. High milk consumption delivers relatively large amounts of galactose, and the researchers proposed that this may drive the inflammatory processes that ultimately weaken bones rather than strengthen them. Critically, fermented dairy products like yogurt and cheese showed none of the same association, likely because fermentation largely breaks down galactose before consumption. There is also a lesser-known issue involving the protein in milk. About 80% of milk protein is casein, and most commercial milk contains predominantly A1-beta-casein. During digestion, A1-beta-casein releases a compound called BCM7, which research has linked to intestinal inflammation, digestive discomfort, and in sensitive individuals, symptoms that mirror lactose intolerance, even when lactose itself is not the culprit. Milk from A2 sources, certain cattle breeds, goats, and sheep, does not produce BCM7, and has been shown in studies to cause significantly fewer digestive issues. So how do you know if milk is working for you or against you? There is a straightforward way to assess this at home. Pay close attention to what happens in the 30 minutes to 2 hours after you drink milk. Bloating, gas, or abdominal discomfort is the first signal. Loose stools or diarrhea is the second. A heavy, sluggish feeling in the digestive system is the third. Increased mucus production, skin reactions, or worsening of inflammatory conditions is the fourth. If any of these apply to you consistently, your body is already telling you something important. The good news is that there are excellent alternatives that deliver calcium more efficiently and without the downsides, and several of them fit naturally into Korean eating patterns. Fermented dairy is the first and arguably strongest alternative. kefir and unsweetened yogurt, have had their lactose broken down through fermentation, making them far more digestible for people who cannot tolerate regular milk. Kefir in particular contains calcium, vitamin K2, vitamin D, magnesium, and a diverse community of probiotics that support gut health. And a healthier gut is the foundation of better calcium absorption. Studies on kefir consumption in older adults have reported meaningful support for bone mineral density maintenance. Aim for 1 serving of plain kefir or unsweetened Greek yogurt daily. Avoid heavily sweetened versions, as added sugar can counteract bone health benefits. Calcium-fortified soy milk is the second strong alternative. Soy milk contains protein levels comparable to dairy milk, and is rich in isoflavones, plant compounds that mimic estrogen and help suppress the bone-destroying osteoclast activity that accelerates after menopause. When choosing soy milk, check the label and select a product fortified with at least 200 milligrams of calcium per serving. Plain or lightly sweetened versions are preferable. Small whole fish, including canned sardines and salmon with bones, provide calcium alongside naturally occurring vitamin D, which is the essential cofactor for calcium absorption. Without adequate vitamin D, even excellent dietary calcium cannot be properly taken up by the body. Eating these fish 2 to 3 times per week adds a meaningful bone protective layer to any diet. Oat milk fortified with calcium is an accessible and versatile choice for those transitioning away from dairy. It contains beta-glucan fiber, which supports blood sugar regulation and cardiovascular health, alongside its bone-supporting calcium content. Here is a 7-day starting plan. Days 1 through 3, observe your body's response to milk carefully and record any symptoms. Day 4, replace 1 glass of milk with plain kefir or unsweetened Greek yogurt, and notice the difference in how you feel. Day 5, prepare a meal using calcium-fortified soy milk. A soy-based soup or a warm soy latte works well. Day 6, share this information with a family member who drinks milk daily out of habit. Day 7, spend 15 minutes outdoors in sunlight. Vitamin D synthesized through sun exposure is what allows any calcium, from any source, to actually reach the bone. A few important cautions. The Swedish study findings related specifically to high milk intake of 3 or more glasses daily. 1 moderate glass per day carries a very different risk profile. And for individuals with no digestive symptoms, reasonable milk consumption remains a valid calcium source. People with thyroid conditions should monitor soy milk intake and discuss appropriate amounts with their doctor. Those with kidney concerns should review total calcium and protein intake with a healthcare provider. The message today is not that milk is bad. The message is that milk is not right for everyone. When your body cannot digest it properly, you may be experiencing inflammation, reduced calcium uptake, and other effects that quietly undermine the very goal you are trying to achieve. Listen to your body, and if it is telling you that milk is not working for you, know that there are options that will work far better. If this video helped you see your morning routine differently, please like and subscribe, and share it with someone who drinks milk every day out of habit. Your comments and questions are always welcome below. See you in the next one.